What if the very effort you call manifestation is the veil that hides the fruit you seek? What if the push, the strain, the endless rearranging of thoughts and images were not a sign of progress at all, but the evidence that you have mistaken mind power for God power? Would you like to instruct God on how to run His universe? Would you like to tell life which way to flow? That is what manifestation attempts, moving life with mind. And the fatigue you feel is the proof. You know the fatigue I mean. The affirmations tacked to your mirror, the vision board on the wall, the scripting in the journal 5 minutes before sleep and 5 minutes upon waking. The seminars, the podcasts, and beneath it all, the little question that will not be silenced. Will it work for me? That question is not innocent. It is fear wearing spiritual clothing. It is the whisper that says, I am separate. I must make this happen. I must get. And in that whisper is the seed of failure, for fear cannot contact grace, and desire to get cannot find God. Let us say it simply. Manifestation tries to move life. Grace reveals the life that is already moving you. The Master put it this way: which of you by taking thought can add 1 cubit to his stature? That is the end of mental strain in the kingdom of God. There is a power, one power, that needs no coaching, no outlining, no visualization. God is. Life is. Spirit is. When you attempt to bend that power with personal mind, you create resistance and call it practice. When you rest from taking thought, you discover it has been carrying you all along. I am not condemning you. I am diagnosing the fatigue. I know the mind's tricks. I have watched students color the pure teaching with their old beliefs, and I have done the same. But I must say this as clearly as I can. The one power is not your servant. You do not employ God to fulfill a plan. You yield. Shall we call it humility? You yield, and you witness what God is already being. No teacher can do this for you. Not even Jesus Christ could do it for you. He could reveal, he could heal, he could demonstrate the nature of the kingdom, but he could not live your realization for you. You must come to conscious awareness yourself. You. The strain you carry is your alarm clock, telling you that you are still trying to move life with mind. Hear it and let it wake you. This is the great reversal. We cease pushing on effects and turn to cause. We stop advising God and start acknowledging God. We release the fever for outcomes and accept the fact of the one power. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and the added things, without your tugging at them, appear. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit. Begin there, and the fatigue ends where grace begins. Let us take the next honest step. If the strain was our alarm clock, what was it warning us about? It was telling us that even our spiritual work had been bargaining. Technique-driven spirituality is bargaining, going to God or to thought to get outcomes, not to know God. Would you like to instruct the infinite on how to arrange the finite? Would you like to bring a shopping list into omnipresence and call it prayer? That is the subtle hypocrisy of the personal self. It asks the one to endorse the plan of the many. It seeks the kingdom of things and hopes God will bless the scheme. Now listen carefully, because this is a razor-edged line, and it will cut if you grasp it. Desire for things is not prayer. It is the misdirection that keeps consciousness in lack. The only desire that is prayer is the desire to know God. Desire to know God is communion. Desire to get is manipulation. When the motive is to get, we are not praying. We are taking thought. We are attempting to move life with mind. And you already know where that ends. I have watched this for years. A new method, a new affirmation, a new visualization. A 52-step outline, each one baptized with a spiritual phrase to make it sound holy. And yet beneath it, the same anxious question. Will it work? Work for what? For whom? For the image of a separate me trying to improve the separate me. Don't you see? That me is the problem, not the petitioner. It is that sense of separation, the one who must get, must guard, must guide, that cannot touch grace. The Christ within is the doer. The personal mind is the agitator. The personal mind refines its tools and calls it progress. The Christ rests in, is, and am, and manifests as harmony without a plan. Do not hear condemnation in this. Hear diagnosis. The failure is not moral, it is structural. The branch cannot bear fruit of itself. Personal sense cannot produce spiritual fruit, however polished the method. You can perfume a thorn bush, it will not become a rose. You can memorize 1,000 affirmations. If the motive is to get, you have already testified to lack, and lack will echo back to you. As ye sow, so shall ye reap. Sow the consciousness of absence, and you reap more absence. Sow the realization of presence, and you discover that your Father knoweth what things ye have need of, before ye ask. So the line is drawn. Will you continue advising God, or will you acknowledge God? Will you measure your inner life by outcomes, or by realization? The Master gave us the order. Seek ye first the kingdom of God. First means first. Not first to get, first to know. This leaves no room for bargaining. It permits only one prayer. Thy will be done, which is to say, Thy nature be realized as my very being. When motive is cleansed, prayer ceases to be manipulation and becomes communion. Then grace, which never failed, appears as freedom, as supply, as harmony. The added things that come when the hunger is for God alone. God is, I am. Begin there, and the edifice of techniques collapses into the simple altar of presence. Let us now lay the cornerstone. There are two miracle words in this way, is and am. Not will be, not shall become. Is and am. God is, I am. Those two words, lived, end the anxious traffic between yesterday and tomorrow. There is no future tense in the kingdom of God. The Master did not say, the kingdom will appear when you succeed at your plans. He said, the kingdom of God is within you. This very minute in which I and the Father are one is the minute of grace. What then is God in this understanding? Not a magnified person to persuade, not a distant ruler to be informed, not a cosmic vending machine awaiting your technique. God is impersonal, ever-operative love. God is the one power, the only activity, the only law, the only life. Would you like to improve a law of gravity? Would you like to advise the sun on how to rise? That is what petitionary bargaining attempts with God. Love is already loving. Life is already living. Spirit is already being itself, and it needs no outline from you to be what it is. Our part is not to manufacture God, but to realize God. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Added, not manufactured. Added, not wrestled from the universe by personal mind. When the master gave that order, he made it impossible to make a career out of taking thought. Which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit to his stature? The answer is in the silence behind that question. No cubit is added by worry. No supply is secured by fear. No health is established by outlining outcomes. Grace begins where time-based striving ends. Now I can hear the human heart protest. But I have needs, I have children, I have rent, I have a body that aches. I am not denying your appearing needs. I am denying the belief that they are met by personal will. I am denying the belief that you must push the river. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. When you rest in is and am, you are not abandoning responsibility. You are surrendering the false responsibility of running the universe. You are consenting to the fact that the source is present and that the forms which we call food, clothing, opportunity, healing, emerge as the shadows of realized presence. There are only 2 orientations in spiritual life. One tries to plan a future rescue. If I think enough, work enough, affirm enough, perhaps God will notice and things will change. The other awakens to what is. God is now. I am in God now. The first depends on time and fear. The second depends on the fact of omnipresence. The first keeps you at the center as organizer. The second reveals the Christ as the doer. My peace I give unto you is not a promissory note for tomorrow. It is the nature of the one who is, here, being peace as your very life. So let this be your inner refrain. God is now. I am now. Not as a charm, not as a technique to get something, but as the description of reality. Live in is and am until the future tense collapses, until the bargaining voice grows quiet, until the heart stands still enough to notice that the kingdom was never absent. Then the added things appear in their own season, not because you forced them, but because love, being itself, cannot help but reveal its harmonies. Now let us ask, how do we stand in is and am? Meditation is our opening wedge to the kingdom of God. Not a luxury, not an elective, not a technique to decorate a busy life. It is the portal, the only reliable way I have known for coming to conscious awareness of God. The object of meditation is God realization. If you go into meditation hoping to heal, gain, or fix, you have already left the kingdom for the marketplace. Would you like to trade with God? Would you like to show the infinite your bill of needs? That is not communion. That is bargaining. And bargaining cannot touch grace. The first movement is quieting. Be still and know that I am God is not a suggestion for a soft afternoon. It is the law of entry. Sit, stand, or walk, but become still within. Let the personal I that plans and worries take its hands off the controls. Do not attempt to still it by effort. Release it by recognition. Say within yourself, not as a charm, but as truth revealing itself, God is. God is here. Then let the words fade and remain with the fact. The second movement is recognition. God is. I am. Not 2 statements, but one life announcing itself in 2 syllables. Rest there. No promises. No outlining. No rehearsing of problems. You do not tell the sun how to shine. You do not inform omnipresence of appearances. You abide in the fact. This presence is the only power, the only law, the only cause, the only activity. And you, in that presence, are not trying to make anything happen. You are witnessing what is. The third movement is resting in presence. This is the holy pause in which the mind ceases from its labor and the heart loosens its grip. Let the silence have you. If thoughts arise, let them pass without argument. If a need parades before you, do not fight it, do not feed it, return gently to is and am. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. That is not a sentence to move God. It is a confession that God is already moving as your life. The fourth movement is allowing, not directing. Allow the presence to be the presence. If you feel peace, do not try to keep it. If you feel nothing, do not try to get something. No teacher can do this for you. Not even the master could sit your meditation. You must consent. You must listen. You must yield. And then, when the interval is complete, whether 3 minutes or 30, rise and carry the tone of that recognition into the tasks of the day. Meditation, then, is not an emergency tool, not a fire extinguisher for trouble. It is a way of living from the center. Many brief pauses, upon waking, before eating, during work, before sleep, reorient you to the kingdom within. Seek ye first the kingdom of God is not a slogan. It is a rhythm. As you keep this rhythm, you will notice the byproduct. Harmonies appear. Supply shows up. Relationships heal. Not because you aimed at them, but because you lived in is and am. The added things are the shadows of realized presence. The prayer permitted us is singular. Father, reveal thyself. And that is enough. Having touched the silence, we must answer a sober question. What does the work when the mind has ceased from taking thought? The Master gave us the answer without romance and without theory. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. Christ is the name we give to that indwelling Spirit, the life of God in you, in me, universally. Not a historical personality to be admired from a distance, but the presence to be realized within. Jesus revealed the Christ. He did not monopolize it. He said, I and the Father are one, and then opened the door for all who would abide in that oneness. Paul found the same secret and named it in plain words. I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. What is the nature of this Christ? Its nature is to heal, to redeem, to forgive, to restore. When the Christ is realized, the sick are healed, the blind see, the withered are restored, the storm is stilled, the sinner is forgiven. Not because a human mind has outlined outcomes, but because love, being itself, reveals its harmonies. That is grace. Grace is not something earned by method. Grace is the activity of the Christ realized. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Not my cleverness, not my affirmations, not my anxious schedule of techniques. His sufficiency. The presence itself fulfilling its own nature as wholeness and peace. Now let us be faithful to the identity that permits this. It is not I the manifester. That I must decrease. The transparency must increase. I live, yet not I. In the rhythm of is and am, you discover that you are a window, not a light source. Would you like to add your candle to the sun? Would you like to help omnipotence be powerful? That is what personal outlining tries to do. It is polite blasphemy. The Christ needs no coaching to be Christ. Our part is consent. Our part is recognition. Our part is resting in is and am until the false self retires and the one self stands revealed. Practically, this turns your day from force into flow. You do not attempt to torque events into your design. You yield to a deeper life. In conversation, in business, in the sick room, in the kitchen, you pause inwardly. Father, reveal thyself. And then you act as one under orders, not under fear. You become a place where forgiveness appears instead of judgment, where wisdom appears instead of reaction, where sufficiency appears instead of grasping. You are not passive, you are available. You are not figuring, you are witnessing. You are not cause, you are a willing instrument of the one cause. And now, as this Christ consciousness begins to be your atmosphere, a new light falls upon the things you have called problems. If the Christ is present, what power can a discord possess? If the one power is realized, what second power remains to threaten? We will see presently that the nature of error is appearance, mesmeric suggestion claiming law, cause, and substance that it does not have. Do not rush to fight it. Do not grant it reality by wrestling. Abide in the Christ within, the presence that does the works, and you will watch shadows dissolve before the sun. God is. I am. Here. Now. And in that realization, grace does what the personal mind can never do. Let us look squarely at what the world calls evil, lack, disease, conflict, fear. What are these? They are mesmerisms, belief in powers apart from God, good and evil as competing realities. The moment you accept two powers, you step back into the dream. You descend from God is to perhaps and if. You begin to take thought. And every thought engaged in a battle with a second power strengthens the belief that there is a second power to battle. Don't you see? Resisting the shadow convinces you there is a substance behind it. The Master gave the law in words so simple that we pass them by. Resist not evil. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Why? Because what you resist, you acknowledge. What you judge by appearance, you empower. These names, disease, debt, injustice, loneliness, are decoys. They parade as causes. They are not causes. They are effects of a hypnotic belief in separation from the one. Bring in a second power and you will practice forever at the margins, throwing one belief at another and calling it spirituality. Manifestation, so-called, keeps this battle alive. It says, here is lack, a power. I will bring in thought, a greater power, to conquer it. Here is disease, a power. I will visualize health, a counterpower. That is dualism baptized in positive language. It is still taking thought. It is still trying to add a cubit to stature by mental struggle. Would you like to fight a mirage on a hot road? You may swing your sword all afternoon, and the mirage will reward you with exhaustion, not with water. Here is the test that will save you endless skirmishes. If you can see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, or smell it, it has no power. I do not say it has no appearance. I do not ask you to deny your human senses. I ask you to deny their authority. Refuse to worship conditions. Refuse to let a figure on a page, a report from a body, a voice on a phone, become law unto you. Judge righteous judgment. The only law, the only cause, the only activity is the presence realized. God is. I am. That is righteous judgment. Our work is not to fix pictures, but to awaken from the hypnotism that makes pictures appear as powers. Be still and know that I am God ends the hypnosis because it withdraws consent. In that stillness, the Christ judges not by sight, but by presence. When error is seen as nothingness to spiritual consciousness, the compulsion to make something happen dissolves. The strain drops. Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit. You do not overcome appearances by fighting them. You outgrow them by realizing the one power. Then, like night before dawn, the forms of discord fade, not because you conquered a rival, but because you ceased believing there was one. God is. I am. Live there, and shadows have no theater in which to play. Now we must come to the heart of our practice, and say it as simply as it can be said. The only prayer we are permitted is a realization of God. Anything else is advising the infinite. Would you like to instruct omniscience? Would you like to bring a wish list to omnipresence and call it communion? Petition says, give me, fix me, change them. Realization says, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Petition measures success by outcomes. Realization abides in, is, and am, and lets the added things appear as shadows of presence. Do not misunderstand me. I do not scold your human heart for crying out. I ask you to notice what prayer touches God, and what prayer touches only your fear. Your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask. If that is so, and the Master made it so, what can petition add but anxiety? Which of you by taking thought can add 1 cubit to his stature? The answer ends the bargaining. Prayer is not asking for a better life. Prayer is awakening to the life that is already whole. Here is the inner mechanics of this simplicity. Consciousness interprets and experiences life. When consciousness is colored by separation and grasping, it interprets the world as lack, danger, and distance, and then petitions to repair the world it has misread. When consciousness awakens to God is and I am, it discovers the kingdom present. Then, life is interpreted through presence, and the outer takes on the character of that realization. Harmonies, adjustments, supply. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and the things are added. Not because you wrestled them into place, but because your seeing changed, and the world you walk in is the outpicturing of your realized oneness. Now the fear will rise like a last defense. If I stop asking, will I be abandoned? If I stop outlining, will God forget me? Oh, do not credit the nature of love with your fear. God is not withholding. Mind is grasping. Omnipresence does not become present when you petition. It is present. It is we who awaken. It is we who cease taking thought and consent to grace. Be still and know is not a punishment. It is the end of self-rescue. So here is your practical pivot when need seems to press. Father, reveal thyself. Show me thy kingdom here. Not bring me a kingdom, not change this picture, but reveal thyself, which is to say, let me awaken to what already is. Whisper it, sit with it. Then let the words fall away and rest in the fact. God is, I am. Wait without outlining. Listen without fear. Rise and go about your task with that inner consent, and you will find that wisdom appears where worry was, sufficiency where grasping was, peace where pressure was. This is the only prayer we are permitted, because it is the only prayer that acknowledges God as God. All else is the branch pretending to be the vine. No teacher can do this for you. Not even the master could surrender your fear. You must turn. You must live in is and am. And as you do, you will prove the law. Realization first, added things follow. Thy grace, present, sufficient, unearned, is the life you have been asking for. Now stop asking and receive it. Now we must face the phrase that has haunted the religious mind and eluded the manipulative mind. These things shall be added unto you. Added, not seized, not manufactured, not attracted. Added. The order is set and cannot be reversed. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, realization first. Then added things, supply, safety, right place, right activity, appear as the shadows of God realization. Don't you see? Effects follow cause. When the center is found, the circumference takes its shape. The mistake has been to make the shadow the goal. To chase added things is to testify that God is absent. The result is fear. Fear that counts coins, fear that measures years, fear that bargains with the infinite. But when God is realized as the source, supply appears of itself, without coercion and without fear. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things is not poetry. It is law. Grace supplies because it is the nature of love to reveal itself as harmony. Now, let us correct the clock. Grace is never late. Personal sense is impatient. Personal sense tries to measure spirit by the tick of a watch, by the arrival of a payment, by the answer before Friday noon. Would you like to put omnipresence on your calendar? Would you like to subpoena the infinite to appear at 10 sharp? That is the arrogance of fear. In realization, you discover a different sequence. You enter is and am, and the tyranny of time loosens. Then events, appointments, provisions unfold in right sequence, not your sequence. The day orders itself because the order is realized within. Refuse, then, to outline. Outlining is unbelief in ceremonial dress. It says, let it come this way, through that person, by that date, in that amount. But the infinite will not be narrowed to your channel. Cease specifying, and you will witness the marvel of forms you could not invent. Guidance appears as a quiet nudge to make a call you had not considered. Reconciliation blooms where you had rehearsed arguments. An opening arrives through a closed door you had stopped knocking on. A bill meets itself by a pathway you would not have permitted if you had been in charge. None of this is sensational. It is natural to realized presence. When resistance drops, the river flows where it always meant to go. You will notice this law in small ways first. An errand completed without strain, the right word given without rehearsal. A task finishing itself as helping hands appear. And then, in larger ways, a position dissolving only to reveal your place. A diagnosis losing its terror as wisdom directs each step. A financial desert blossoming as an unseen channel opens. Do not advertise it. Do not idolize it. Accept it as the shadow of God realization. And now let expectancy be purified. Expectation is no longer a demand upon form. It is a confidence in presence. You rise each morning not to get, but to witness. Father, reveal thyself. Then you move through the day without clutching, and the forms of supply find you because you are no longer fleeing them with fear or chasing them with desire. Very soon we shall see that supply is not merely the stream that comes to you, it is the love that flows out from you and returns as abundance. For now, live with the principle, God is, I am, and the added things, in their season and their way, appear. Let me give you the key that turns this whole lock. Love is supply. Not the love that comes to you, the love that flows out from you. Don't you see where the world, yes, and religious students too, have stumbled? They try to attract, to magnetize, to concentrate streams into their cup and call that spiritual success. That is refined self-interest dressed in sacred words. Grace is not a technique for getting. Grace is love expressing. When love flows, supply appears because supply is the form love takes when it returns. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over. Not as barter, not as a cosmic bookkeeping system that pays wages for piety. As the nature of circulation. Life circulates. Spirit must express. The sea that only receives becomes brackish. The stream that gives is clear. So too the heart. When consciousness is set on is and am, it loosens its grip, and love begins to move of itself as forgiveness, as cooperation, as service, as non-judgment, as quiet generosity. Not performance, presence. What forms does this outflow take? It looks like releasing an old grievance and discovering that the tight band around your finances relaxes. It looks like a willingness to cooperate where you once insisted, and seeing doors open that argument kept closed. It looks like paying a bill with gratitude for the good already received and watching channels appear that fear would have blocked. It looks like doing the honest thing when no one sees, giving full measure in your work, listening without hurrying, speaking truth without sharpness, declining to gossip, blessing those who curse you, sending a silent benediction into rooms that are tense. A cup of cold water in the Master's name is love, and love never fails to reveal its own harmonies. Do not say, I will love so that I may get. Desire creeps back in with a new mask. Love does not calculate. Love is. God is. I am. From realized oneness, love goes out the way light leaves the sun, because of what it is, not because of what it hopes to receive. And yet, mysteriously, inevitably, what you let flow is what you find returning, pressed down, shaken together, because you have ceased blocking the law of your own being. As ye sow, so shall ye reap is not a threat. It is a description of circulation. Sow love, attention, competence, patience, forgiveness, and you will reap the forms that correspond. Friendship, opportunity, health, sufficiency. Tie this now to the Christ within. The nature of the Christ is to love, to forgive, to heal, to feed. When the Christ is realized, love moves without our permission and does the works. The hungry are fed because someone breaks and gives. The fragments multiply. The storm is calmed because someone refuses to answer fear with fear and answers it with peace. The sinner is lifted because someone denies them condemnation and grants them sonship. Harmony is love in action. Supply is that harmony showing up as bread on the table, ideas for the day, strength in the body, right companionship.
So if you would live in supply, stop waiting to be loved and start being love. Let the river use you. Do not advertise it. Do not count it. Father, reveal thyself. Then walk into your world as an outflow. You will discover that the universe is not a warehouse to raid, but a circulation to enter. And in that circulation, grace, already present, returns to you as abundance, because love, having gone out, must come home. Now we turn 7 days, not as a project to get results, but as a reorientation of life. A turning from outlining to realizing, from taking thought to being still, from make it happen to God is. For 1 week, let the watchword be, stop practicing manifestation, practice realization, and let grace live your life from the inside out. On the first day, begin with morning and evening intervals of quiet, 3 to 5 minutes if that is what you can do. Sit or stand or walk, but within say, God is. Let the words fade. Rest in is and am. Do not bring a bill, a body, or a plan into that holy place. The object is God realization. On the hour, as often as you remember, pause for a breath and whisper, Father, reveal thyself. Then move on without looking for a sign. On the second day, add watchfulness. Notice when mind slips into outlining, bargaining, comparing. If I say this, they will do that. If I think enough, this will change. When you catch it, do not scold, do not argue. Return to presence. God is, I am. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Not to get, but to recognize. On the third day, practice non-resistance to appearances. When a report, a symptom, a figure on a page presents itself, refuse to worship it. If you can see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, or smell it, it has no power. Judge righteous judgment. Be still and know that I am God. Let peace, not panic, be your first movement. Then do the next right human thing, calmly, under orders, not under fear. On the fourth day, open the outflow. Let love move without announcement. A forgiveness you were withholding, a courtesy you have delayed, a competence you once rationed. Do not love to get. Love because love is. Discover the lightness that follows, and call it nothing but grace being itself. On the fifth day, carry the silence into activity. Before calls, writing, meetings, cooking, pause. I and the Father are one. Then act. Let right words, right timing, right restraint rise from stillness. You are not passive, you are available. You are not forcing, you are witnessing. On the sixth day, renounce the inner controller. Drop the need to predict, to force, to compare your path with another's. Refuse to put omnipresence on your calendar. Consent to surprise. Seek ye first the kingdom of God. Let events take their shape around realized presence. On the seventh day, rest in gratitude without counting. Not gratitude for things, gratitude for is. Let the week fold into a simple vow. Father, reveal thyself. In me, as me, through me. No teacher can do this for you. Not even the master could yield for you. You must turn, and the moment you yield, you discover you were never alone. The Christ within does the works. Live there and watch the added things appear in their season, without your strain and without your fear. God is, I am. now.